are you? Happy Saturday. See how notifications work today, huh? We're just, we, me, myself, and I, just out and about, checking out things in Englewood, Colorado. Yeah, notifications have been super delayed on the tube of you. Super delayed. Here we go. Here come some folks. Steve, how are you? A pig's daughter. I love it. Health, wealth, and hope. Snarky, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a long time. Hey, John. Public Tour, what's up? PayPal me. Call ambulance service direct. Dude, it doesn't work that way. I promise you. Dudette. Michael Story, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while. Woody, how you been? Jeannie. Brandon. How are you? Jeremiah. What's going on, you guys? Yeah, so I'm just driving around Englewood today. Just checking on folks. It is blistering hot here in the sun again. My car thermometer says 103. I'm guessing it's probably jumping between 96 and 98. Low 90s if you're sitting in the shade. Yeah, this is pretty unseasonable for us, but we've been getting a lot of afternoon showers, a lot of afternoon cool downs. It's just June. We usually have this kind of weather in July, August here, but we had a pretty wet spring and we started off with a pretty wet summer. So we're not in a drought and we're not in global warming, despite all of the stories that people want to convince you of. But we do live in a semi-arid climate. This is kind of like the desert in parts of Colorado, friends. It just is. But we also have seasons here. We have climate change here in Colorado. We have ebbs and flows in our environment in Colorado. 98 in Pennsylvania. Miss the cool summers by the beach in Redondo. Yeah, it's a little dry here, but we had some good rain showers yesterday. Looks like some more are moving in today. So here it is, a week later, and I just want to document this. Smo, how you doing, my friend? You miss Colorado? Well, we miss you too. So things have been interesting out here on the streets in Englewood, and we have Irish Rover in the house as the controlling mod today. So just housekeeping measures. If you come in this chat and you start talking shit about the homeless, you're probably not going to get a warning and you're probably going to get booted. If you come hijack the chat, you're probably going to get booted. So the mods run the chat. So that's how it works. Hey, Kimberly, how are you? Your car says 93. Yeah, I guess depending on what direction you're facing in the sun, but it's hot. It's mid to upper 90s right now, and if you're out on foot on the sidewalk by a cement or brick building, of course it's hotter. So that leads me into last Saturday's situation, and I think it's really important to document this, especially for the citizens of Englewood. that hold their emergency services in such high regard, and what you're dealing with as far as police response versus medical response. I don't know about any of you, um, but the 911 system exists, whether we like it or not, okay? That is our call for emergency medical help. We all know what some of the ramifications are of calling 911 and having the police show up and make a situation go from really bad to really frickin' horribly worse and fatal in some instances. Do I go around telling people not to call 911 for help? Absolutely not. Do I tell people to think twice about what they're calling 911 for? Absolutely. Okay? I take the 911 system very serious. Doing a little cop watching while I'm sitting here as well. I'm sure the cops are trying to figure out where I'm at right now, because I don't think they're real happy with me right now, because I've been just showing up in places that the cops are showing up at, and I guess they probably just can't figure it out, and they want to know why I keep sending emails, since there's no complaint process, right? So I have to complain to Sam Watson, the chief of police, and Sean Lewis, the city manager, because, I mean, they're actually the only people that can take action, but are continuing to refuse to take action. City council, as a majority, gives zero shits about what's going on in this city, okay? But, so that's a little side conversation. I'll talk more about that here in a minute. But back to this, oh, now here's another cop. You know, it's funny. I have been driving around for 2 hours, and I've not seen a single cop in Englewood. Now, I personally don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is a lot of these bootlick and vocal residents here in Englewood who swear that the cops just can't do their job because there's not enough of them, and they're not being paid enough, and they don't have enough resources, and blah, blah, blah. And they want more police for more, proactive patrolling. I'm here to tell you, folks, you don't need more police in Englewood. And I'm going to keep showing you why. And I'm going to keep taking some videos, and I'm going to keep coming to you and asking you, can you tell me why 8 cops responded to a call in a park down on Bellevue, which is on the border of Littleton and Englewood? 8 cops last night. 8. I drove around Englewood for an hour. Didn't see one single cop. I decide to go over to this park where I know there's usually a lot of people. And I pull up and I see 3 cops to begin with, and then 5 more show up. And what went down the entire time was a woman, a man, and a child standing next to a vehicle out in a kind of dirt parking lot next to a putt-putt mini golf course thing in this park that Englewood has jurisdiction over. And so I'm watching the situation, trying to figure out why there's already a need for 3 cops, okay? And so far, all I see are these 2 adults writing, which I presume was some kind of statement, as their little child is just kind of running around, and the cops are standing around talking and laughing and giving the kids maybe some stickers, and they're showing this little child all their fun gadgets. Yeah. And she says, and I'm looking around going, okay, where's the threat? What is hiding behind the bushes here? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's only one vehicle, presumably theirs. So it wasn't like there was an accident. There were no injuries. There was no medical response, no nothing. So Slabby and I went for a walk in the park. And over the course of the next 30 minutes, 8 cops show up. 8 total. And they're just hanging out, shooting the shit. A couple of them leave. The supervisor, the sergeant, sees me, and he leaves, and then they all start leaving. Interesting, right? Yeah. So if you really want to know what's going on in your city, Englewood residents, and you think you need more cops, you really got to start paying attention to some stuff. Okay? You just do. My interest, how are they handling homelessness? Well, along the way, you see a lot of interesting things. Okay, back to last Saturday's story. Friday night, John. Yeah, I shit you not. 8 of them. At about, 7:30-ish p.m. 8 cops in a park. I watched the whole thing go down, and eventually it was down to 2 cops, and then the 2 cops left. And then I came up on them a few other times in some other areas, and they looked busy. But there were never 8 of them again. Yeah. So that was last night. So last Saturday, I'm driving. I've got all my water. There's a couple people that I want to have some conversations with out on the streets. So I'm going to go check on people. It's about 12:30. And I'm going to tell you, last Saturday, it was hotter than this Saturday. And it was nearing 100 degrees. I come around the corner at a very busy intersection in Englewood. And I see a man laying on the sidewalk. And he's flailing his arms, like forward. And he's kind of rolling side to side. And there's a walker on this sidewalk. And he is next to a brick building, and the sun is beating on this whole area. It was at least 100 degrees, probably closer to 110 degrees, where this man was laying down. I drive up. There's traffic behind me. I didn't want to slam on my brakes, so I quick pull into the parking lot. I jump out of the car. I run over there. By the time I get over there, there's another guy over there on his bicycle, and he's lifting his shirt up. And he's like, look at me. I got hit by a car yesterday. I can't pick him up. Can you pick him up? And this guy is bruised from his neck all down his torso. So he'd been hit by a car. I said, no, don't pick him up. Don't pick him up. So I go over there, and the man is laying flat on his back, and he's in flannel pajama pants. He's in a long sleeve flannel shirt. He's got a heavy, what I would consider, winter coat on, and a stocking cap over his head. And he's conscious, but his eyes are closed, and he's not talking to me. And so I'm not going to pick this man up. I'm going to need to assess what the hell is going on. And so I asked him right away, are you hurt? And he started moaning. I said, do you want an ambulance right now? Do you need medical? And he mumbled yes to what I could make out. And he grabbed my hand. And I thought, oh dear, this is not good. This was an elderly gentleman. He was tiny. He was frail. I didn't know what was going on. Okay. I will tell you that when I got a little closer to him, I smelled some alcohol. Wow. Big deal. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what I smell. Okay. I don't care. Okay. Something is wrong with this man, and he needs help. So I immediately call 911. That is what the 911 system is for. Okay. I made the call at 12:34. It was a 2-minute phone call. This dispatcher in Englewood, and let's back up just a little bit so you have a little bit of context about dispatchers and me in Englewood. Number one, I have never called 911 in the city of Englewood. Number two, the Englewood PD takes their own 911 calls in their cop shop right here. They have a full 911 team. The cop shop runs like a bunch of monkeys humping footballs. That's not my fault. When I go to this cop shop and I want to talk to a supervisor, or I want to ask for a specific cop or whatever, or I have a complaint, you can't go to the window and have them pick up their telephones and call anybody in their office, or take 15 steps into their back room where the cops congregate to talk shit about people, to have them get somebody to come to the window. They make you go back out into the lobby and pick up the phone and have the dispatchers take your call. Now look, I'm no genius in running an organization. But if I were in charge and I had a 911 system and I had a lobby where people come to talk to people, I would not have the people that come to talk to us call my dispatchers. So when I want to do business in that cop shop, I think long and hard about even picking up that phone. But those are the options. That's what you have to do business in the lobby of the cop shop, is take up the dispatcher's time. Makes perfect sense. So that's the history of Englewood and how their 911 system is part of their police department. Okay? In other counties, Jefferson County, Denver County, Adams County, they have a centralized 911 system. Little municipalities within those counties sometimes take their own calls. Does it work for some of them? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But when they control their own records, that's where I have a problem as a citizen. Okay? In JeffCom, if I am in Lakewood, Colorado, and I call 911, that call is going to be picked up by a central system operated by the county with the best technology, supposedly the best call takers, blah, blah, blah. Same with Denver County. But the Denver is their own. If you're in Denver and you call 911, it's all controlled by Denver County. Other counties have a few municipalities in them that do take their own calls, but very few. JeffCom and AdCom, and I don't think Arapahoe has a centralized system. I don't know. I haven't done enough research on it yet. But regardless, if I'm in Lakewood, Colorado, and I call 911, this JeffCom system is going to pick up that call, and they're immediately, simultaneously, going to dispatch those emergency services. Okay? Not in Englewood. Englewood doesn't even have their own emergency services. They have to go contract with Denver for fire and ambulance, and can't manage a call system that simultaneously dispatches emergency help in the city of Englewood. So does this delay emergency response? Well, I would think not. Because I would think if you have a good call taker who's listening to your call, and even though they have to dial another number, certainly it's pre-programmed into some program that immediately dispatches medical to a call, right? I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. So here we are on this sidewalk last Saturday at 12:34, and this dispatcher slaughters her name. I don't know who she was. Okay? She's not concerned about the medical call because I immediately told her, we need an ambulance at Englewood Parkway in a coma. There is an elderly man down on the sidewalk. Oh, okay. So, where are you again? Can you repeat that? Englewood Parkway in a coma. Oh, okay. So, what's the man wearing? Okay, you know, he's conscious, but we need medical over here. Yeah, okay, they're coming. Are they? Tell me what the man is wearing. So I tell her, And then she wants to know if he's black, white, Hispanic. I said, he's black. Okay, what's your name? Regan. And can you repeat your phone number? I repeat my phone number. I don't know how the call ended. I don't know if I hung up. I don't know if she hung up, but she was not offering one bit of medical help over that phone call. Not one bit. And I needed my hands because I had one hand here and I had this man laying in the hot sun, rolling around. I wasn't sure what was going on with him. So, guess who shows up within a minute? Within a minute. Englewood PD. Englewood PD shows up within a minute. And this young punk comes walking up like, you called? And he walks up and he's got his hands on his hip. What's going on, Joe? It's the first thing he says. And I looked at him. I said, is there an ambulance coming? Yeah, they're coming. And he stands there. And he just stands there with his hands on his hip. And he's just looking at me. Doesn't offer a thing. Not a thing. So I'm trying to shield this man from the sun. He's talking to me. He's now thanking me. Okay? And then I asked the cop again, is the ambulance coming or not? And he steps away and he gets on his radio and then he comes back and he's staring at me. I said, is your body cam on? Yeah, it is. I said, are you one of those fucking punks from Englewood? No, I'm not. And he's just standing there. Well, the ambulance finally shows up. But this is where it gets interesting. One of the ambulance workers gets out and he goes, oh, Joe, drinking again today, huh? And I'm standing there and I'm just talking myself down and I start recording. And of course, I'm not going to get in the way of the ambulance crew. And this ambulance driver walks over, doesn't tend to the guy on the ground, walks over to his walker as the other ambulance woman gets out, and she walks over to him and she starts talking to him and she looks at me and she says, did you happen to see how he fell? I said, no, I didn't. So she was at least trying to do her job. Now, this is Denver Health. This is Denver Health Ambulance. Okay? This is part of what Englewood has to contract with Denver on. Because they don't have their own emergency services over here. And they don't like Denver taxpayers coming to their city council to make public comment. Because if you don't live in Englewood, you've got no business coming to city council to make public comment. True story. And so this guy from the ambulance starts going through the compartments in his walker. He pulls out his name tag that's hanging on the side of his walker, repeats his first and last name. Oh, yep. Repeats his name, Joe, whatever, to the other ambulance woman. Pulls out a bottle. I think it was alcohol. I don't know. I don't care. Really? Is this appropriate? Is this what we do when we call for medical here in Englewood? And so I'm just standing there, just about to bite my tongue in half, okay? And they load him up on the stretcher, and I'm still recording. And I said to the ambulance guy, I said, are you going to take his walker with him? Oh, yeah, we'll take it. Well, he didn't put it in the ambulance. He parked it on the sidewalk next to the ambulance. And then the cop drives around and parks behind the ambulance, and they sit there on the street. So now you can imagine how much time has passed, okay, as all this has gone down. So that cop is in his car. The ambulance crew is in the ambulance. I get in my car. I make a phone call at 12:50. I'm on the phone with this person at 12:50. And here comes the fire truck. And they pull in. And I said to the guy, to the ambulance guy, before he got in the ambulance the final time, I said, "Are you taking him to Swedish?" And he wouldn't answer me. And the fact that he parked that walker on the sidewalk and wouldn't answer me as to whether or not they were taking him to Swedish was red flag number 3, because I already knew they were going to try to put him back out on the sidewalk. The cop already knew who he was. The ambulance crew already know who this guy was. I don't care how many times a day you get called for little Joe. I don't care. You do not know what's going on with this man right now at this moment. You do not get to come to a medical call with a preconceived notion that you are not going to provide this man proper medical care. You do not get to send a cop out here that makes the determination whether or not medical is going to come. And that's exactly what happened. So the fire truck shows up, and the ambulance guy jumps out of the ambulance and runs over. He's like, hey, I called you off 5 minutes ago. And the fire crew's like, well, one of the guys is like putting his hands up in disgust, like, you did? And he's like, yeah, I called you off 5 minutes ago. Fire crew gets back in the truck and leaves. Then the ambulance guy gets back in that ambulance. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, They're going to take this man to the hospital. They're going to take him to the hospital. They did. But they knew I was watching them. And that's the only reason they took him. That's the only reason they took him. How do I know all this now? Because there's no complaint process in Englewood. Remember? I now have to go to city council and put this stuff on the record just so it's on the record. Nobody's responded to it. Nobody gives a shit. They know they're fucking up left and right. They're not going to admit that they're fucking up left and right. And nobody cares. And the residents of Englewood think they need more police. So I go back to Denver because I understand Denver city government pretty much now like the back of my hand. And I said to the Office of the Independent Monitor, I want to file this complaint. I kind of had a feeling they weren't going to be very responsive to the complaint. And they weren't. But they reached out to me and reminded me, Ms. Benson, we only have authority to handle complaints over sworn personnel of the Denver Fire Department. So in the Denver Fire Department, they have a couple arson investigators that carry guns. Those are the only people that the Office of the Independent Monitor can facilitate a complaint on, per Denver's charter. Well, I think the OIM could potentially do a better job, at least managing a complaint made by a citizen in Denver that says your fire department needs to be investigated from the top down, so giving the administration of the fire department a fair opportunity to investigate their complaints. Here's the problem with the Denver Fire Department. They don't properly investigate their complaints either. So that's why this Office of the Independent Monitor exists in Denver, so they can oversee complaints of law enforcement in Denver. Well, the OIM said, we can't do it. Nah, that's not going to fly for me. So, of course, I go to Denver's Department of Public Safety, and I said, you grant these idiots this contract. You still pay this fire department and ambulance personnel with Denver taxpayer money, regardless of this contract. I want an investigation. I want some oversight. And they responded. And I was much nicer about it, of course, in an email. I didn't say those things, but I made it very clear, and the Denver Department of Safety understands what's going to happen if they don't investigate. So they assigned Denver's 911 director over this. And this guy is thorough, he's good, he's trustworthy, and he's honest. That's been my experience with him. And Denver is exceptionally lucky to have this man. He is worth every dime of his salary. And he takes emergency services very, very serious. Yeah, he does, because that's his job. So he did his own investigation, but here's the problem. He doesn't get to access Englewood's emergency system. Just like I told you guys last week, they do their own record keeping. So he has to only utilize the Denver response system that's tied into the Englewood system that the fire department and the ambulance have to use to show when they were dispatched, when they arrived, and that kind of stuff. Okay, that's the only thing that Denver has authority over to investigate, even though taxpayers in Denver are still on the hook for emergency services provided in Englewood, Colorado. Make this make sense. Please make this make sense. Okay? So here's what the system revealed. It didn't show what time I made the call because Englewood didn't give that up. Englewood didn't give the 911 director of Denver the time the call came in. Imagine that. Emergency services for that call were not dispatched until 12:41. Okay? Does that seem like a long time? When seconds matter? Yeah, it is. The fire department and the ambulance didn't even know that there was a medical call that they could have started en route to at 12:36. Englewood made the call at 12:41. Who made the call? That fucking cop. Yep. Englewood sent him out there and let him decide whether or not they were going to send medical help. That is exactly how it went down. And the Denver Fire Department reported that the fire truck showed up to the scene at 12:47 and was sitting right here in the station, not on any calls. The ambulance was right down the street. It all came together when the cop came back after he did his little radio bullshit. And I said, is that fucking ambulance coming or not? And he goes, don't you hear the siren? And it was all simultaneous. It happened within seconds after he got on that radio. I heard that siren, and that ambulance was there probably within 30 to 45 seconds. They intentionally delayed that medical call. Intentionally. So that's what you get when you call 911 in Englewood. Now the question is that just what Regan Benson gets when she calls 911 in Englewood? Or is this standard operating procedure in Englewood? What do you think? And this cop told me his name, and I thought he said Cog, but I think it was Cox. But I never did get a card from him. And then we saw him later on the live stream that I did later that day where they were running through the field, Robbie the RoboCop and him. Well, Robbie the RoboCop was standing on the sidewalk ordering him where to run. No, KS, the population here for Englewood doesn't call for that. There is more than one ambulance, and there is the ability to bring other ambulances in to the city of Englewood. Swedish Hospital is dead center in the city of Englewood. Swedish is a level 1 trauma hospital. That place has, I mean, ambulances are running through there 24/7. We were about 2.5 blocks away from this Swedish hospital when I made that call. So are there enough ambulances in this area? 110%. But the fact is that the fire department and that part of that medical crew could have been there sooner. Could the ambulance have been there sooner? Probably. I wasn't told that the ambulance was on another call. I was told that the ambulance was near. So I guarantee you they were probably sitting up the street or had just got done with a call at Swedish and were sitting at Swedish and didn't even know there was a call, because Englewood decided to let the cop decide whether or not medical was going to be needed. The timeline's together, DJ. It's all together. Ambulance service records, yeah, sure. I don't need to prove anything else. I don't. There's nothing else I need to prove. I mean, it's all proven. So ultimately, later that day, because of a really bad situation that I did not live stream, an assault that took place in the parking lot at Walmart, I ended up going up to Swedish Hospital to talk to the individual that was involved in the assault. That's another story for another day. I'm not going to talk about that right now. This is a disaster of a story. You guys, it has been an absolutely horrible, horrible week. Phil is back out on the street. Robert is not getting proper case management. He's not getting his prosthetic. His case manager copped an attitude with me, and Robert can't have that refrigerator that was donated to him. I'm just, this week has been a holy living nightmarish shit show. But I go back to Swedish Saturday night to go talk to this other individual. And you guys, this is all divine intervention. There is a reason that I end up in places at certain times. There is. And you're not going to convince me that there's not. Because I would not be in these situations if I were not guided into these situations. I walk into that emergency room at Swedish at, what time was that? 8:30 at night. Mind you, remember I made that medical call at 12:34 that day for little Joe. I walk into that ER, and that little old man is sitting in the waiting room, like the exit waiting room of the ER. He's sitting in the foyer. And I did a double take, and he looked at me, and his eyes got super big. I said, Joe! And he got a big old smile on his face, and he patted the seat next to me. Well, you come sit down over here. So I did. I said, listen, it's really nice to meet you now. And are you okay? Oh, yeah, honey, I'm okay. I'm okay. Here comes the fire truck. They're coming home. And so Joe starts talking to me. And he's just happy as pie that I'm there. And he's got a big smile on his face. And so we started talking. And I said, Joe, I said, are you okay? They said, no, don't come here. Regan's here. Leave. I'm just sitting under the tree in the shade. I'm actually more interested in watching how many cops we're going to be swirling in the area. And so little Joe, he starts kind of getting all sad. I said, Joe, did they discharge you? And he's like, yeah, this place really sucks. They're treating me terrible here. I said, what happened to you today? Well, I had a little much to drink, and I fell down, and I hit my head, and I knocked myself out. And I literally, I just, I don't know how long he'd been laying there, is what was on my mind. He was dressed in heavy flannel pajama pants. I mean, it was hot. And so I talked to him a little bit more, and he was okay. He was waiting for an Uber. That is one good thing Swedish does. Listen, Swedish is a great hospital up until last Saturday. I've never seen what I saw last Saturday at Swedish Hospital through that emergency department, and it was mortifying. And I'll give you a tad bit more information on why it was mortifying. But I finished talking to Joe. He was okay. He wanted my phone number. I didn't have a card on me, and he handed me his phone. And he said, honey, put your phone number in my phone. I said, of course, Joe, I can do that for you. And so I did. And I shook his hand again, and he grabbed my hand and put his other hand on top of my hand. And I said, you gonna be okay? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, I gotta go in here because I gotta try to talk to another guy. And he said, you go do that. And that was that. And so I have Joe's phone number also. So I'm going to be reaching out probably to Joe again at some point. But it was nice to meet him. I don't care if this man drinks a lot. This is an elderly man. I mean, of course I care for his health. But do I care when it comes to the judgment zone? Would I stop? I had to ask myself, would I stop on a sidewalk and go, drinking again, huh? What'd you do? Fall down? That is literally what those medical professionals from that ambulance were doing. And they were going to put him back out on the sidewalk. They were. And I'm thinking to myself, this is where we're at. This is where we're at in humanity, the healthcare system, and the imminent collapse of it all. We are in literal collapse. And I just have to accept that. I have to come over here, think I'm going to, reach out, do a little bit of help. But now I have to think twice about calling 911. Because here's the other piece to the 911 issue. There's 2 dispatchers for Englewood that are on this criminal case where that fraud from Canada was abusing emergency dispatch system in Englewood and calling dispatchers to ask them if they were going to charge me for filming a little boy from Allied Security who became a victim after he harassed the shit out of me for 10 minutes telling me I couldn't use a bathroom in the fucking public library because I didn't sign my name to a clipboard. So we've got a fraud in Canada having all this political interest in certain auditors and certain people across the country in the United States to the point that he's abusing emergency services in the United States to have them criminalize me. So we've got Julie and we've got Brittany over here in the Englewood PD dispatcher girl crew, the gal pal crew, deciding how they're going to handle emergency 911 calls. We've got Brittany in some discovery taking a phone call from this victim who was told by the city prosecutor, Jonathan, to call dispatch and tell them that Regan Benson recorded you and harassed you. So Brittany, this is Brittany, Englewood Dispatch, how can I help you? Yeah, I want to report a harassment. Man, I couldn't believe what was happening to me. She be following me all over the place. And, I mean, I was scared. Oh, yeah. Oh, is that Regan Benson? Yeah, we're familiar with her. Okay, so we're going to have an officer call you. Don't worry if the call comes up blocked, but just go ahead and answer that, and we'll have somebody get in touch with you. Oh, did she threaten you? It's all on recording, you guys. In my discovery. Yeah, right here. That's Brittany. Then there's Julie, entertaining the fraud from Canada. And he published it. He fucking published it. Oh, yeah, Regan Benson. Oh, no, we investigated that, and he didn't want to press charges. And she just knows everything about this criminal investigation for harassment charges on Regan Benson. For filming a fucking security guard in the public building that just harassed the shit out of me for 10 minutes over giving me a key to the public bathroom. Versus an elderly man that's about to die in the heat on a sidewalk. Yeah. True story. That's your Englewood 911 system. So you tell me, did this all happen because it was Regan Benson calling? Or is this the standard way of doing business in Englewood? Do I think I'm the only one that they're doing that to? No, I don't. Do I think they deliberately delayed that medical call last Saturday because it was me calling? I absolutely do. Yeah, so Regan's out there. I mean, I don't know. She's over there by the bus stop where all the homeless hang out. So can we get an officer over there to see what's going on? And then they send a punk over there. Well, that little punk realized real quick that he wasn't going to get away with his bullshit. So did the little punk call dispatch again? Or did he make a direct call to his ambulance buddy? And for those of you that say you can call the ambulance direct, you can't. Okay, you guys? So unless I have his cell phone number, I cannot call the ambulance company direct. Do you see how the system works and takes over and how government decides who's going to live and die? So I said to Denver, I said, give me a way to call the fire department directly, because there is a way. There's a number, and it's a public number, and I'm going to find it. And next time that I need 911 services, I cannot dial 911. If I need emergency medical services, I am going to have to dial the full number, a 7-digit number, plus area code. I'm going to have to get Denver Fire Department dispatch, and I'm going to have to tell them somebody's about to die right here, but I have to explain to you that I can't call 911 here in Englewood because they fuck with my call. And somebody's about to die here. So can you send the fire truck, please? And they're going to go, oh God, wait a minute, this isn't how we do things. And then the call's going to get delayed. Or maybe if the need arises next time and I need to call 911 for emergency medical services, I find somebody else to make the call for me. Is that what I do? What do I do? Todd, what private ambulance company in the metro area is going to have somebody on call in Englewood for me in an emergency? It's not going to work like that. It's absolutely not going to work like that. You know that. We all know that. What is the other way? Well, this is the only way. Do not call 911. And Todd, who's going to be responsible to pay that ambulance service as a private citizen making a call with a private agreement with an ambulance company? Yes, please email me. You always have good insight. I'm always interested in reading and understanding. But the point is, either stay out of Englewood, Regan, or drive 6 blocks into Denver and call 911. I don't abuse the 911 system. I have maybe called 911 maybe a half a dozen times in all my time out here on the street. And mostly in Denver. And I will tell you, even though there has been some wait time because of staffing shortages in the 911 call center, I have never, ever, ever had that kind of response for medical in Denver, ever. The fire department has always been there first. And even in Denver, they're getting smart enough to realize we're not sending cops to this call. I can't remember when I had a cop show up in Denver on a medical call. Freedom, I totally agree. We totally need to get away from relying on government being able to pick winners and losers. But here we are. Here we are. Listen, I know you guys all have these great ideas and all this stuff, and I love it. But it's not reality at the present moment. It is a good reality to work for and to have strong belief in, but come out here, please. Come out here and walk in my shoes for a couple of days and show me how we're going to do it better right here and now. Please. Okay, if they cover the area, Todd. I mean, yeah. All right, I'll appreciate that email. I'll be looking for that. Let me just finish this up by telling you why I am so extremely disappointed in Swedish. This is a place where I go for my health care and emergency services. And I've been there. And I've been in some not good situations with these kidneys and those stones. And I'm telling you, these things, people think these things are some kind of little anomaly, and they come and go. I'm one of the rare cases where they come and go to a point of making you unconscious. Okay. I have never received poor care at Swedish. Okay. My mom died at Swedish. They have been the upstanding of upstanding hospitals in the metro area. There was a very, very bad situation that happened in the Walmart parking lot with a homeless man and a resident of Englewood. And it was all because of lack of proper emergency planning in weather-related events where people become dehydrated where people become delusional. Things happen. Bad things can happen. And a bad thing happened. And a homeless man ended up getting taken in an ambulance. He was unconscious for a short time because he assaulted another individual who, of course, defended himself. The guy that defended himself didn't want to press charges. And the homeless man ended up over in the ER. And I called over there to make sure that the homeless man was not on some type of hold. There's a couple holds in these situations that can occur. There's 72-hour holds. There's law enforcement investigation holds that should have occurred. This man was not on any holds. I said, good. But that means he's going to be released. That means he's going to come back out on the street. Or maybe he'll be admitted. Wasn't sure. But I wanted to talk to this man. I've been working a little bit with this man. A little bit. He's chronic homeless and he has been going through a lot in Englewood. So I go up to Swedish and I go in the ER. Mind you, I had called. It was about 30 minutes. I show up to the hospital and security tells me, well, you can't go back there. I said, well, I called and he's not on a hold. So I need to know why I can't see him. We'll go check it out and we'll let you know. This is Allied. Okay, this is another set of Allied security guards. I'm going to tell you, they were good. they were very good. But the Allied security guard goes away and he doesn't come back. And about 10 minutes later, in walks 2 Englewood police officers. 2 females. And I looked at them. One of them recognized me because I can tell by their body language. And she immediately turned her head and put it down. And the other one, she's just kind of looking forward and walking. I said, excuse me, are you 2 here to see so-and-so? And the one that obviously recognized me just kept looking forward. And the other one turned around. She's like, yeah, we are. I'm like, is he on a hold? Oh, yeah, we don't know yet. You don't know yet. Then what the hell are you doing here at this point, right? So the wheels start turning. And his nurse comes out and talks to me. He's like, so what is your relationship with this man? I said, look, I'm a homeless advocate. This is who I am. I deal with you guys a lot. A lot of my folks come up here. You do them very well, and we work together very good. I want to know if I'm going to be able to help this man tonight or what. He's like, well, I can't talk to you. I'm going to have to go ask the patient if he'll release information. I said, yes, please do that. It's by law. So he goes back and he comes back. Mind you, the cops haven't come back out. And the nurse comes back out and he says, okay, the patient told me that I can release this information to you. Look, I'm telling you, this guy's an asshole. I said, yeah, tell me more. See, Reagan does know how to work with people and understand what's going on. And so this nurse unloads on me about what an asshole this homeless guy is being. And he's trying to assault everybody. He's trying to kick the doctor in the face. He's trying to do this, this, and that, and blah, blah, blah. But he's cleared medically, and we want him out of here. Oh? Wait, so a guy that comes in that has assaulted people out on the street is now assaulting everybody in the hospital, and you're going to put him out on the street? Yeah. So we had to call the cops to get him the hell out of here. Oh, that's interesting. So is the doctor on board with not putting this man on a hold? Look. Okay, you and I, we can go back and forth about all the reasons, the law, and the doctor's not finding the criteria. And I stood there and I raised my eyebrows at him and I smiled. He's like, we're not putting him on a hold. I said, I will be right here. I said, now he's probably going to be really pissed off and probably not very happy to see me. Well, you're going to have to decide if you want to be here or not, but we're getting him the hell out of here. Okay. Can I talk to the doctor maybe? And he goes back and disappears. So I'm standing there to the entrance of the ER where patients come out of the ER and exit the ER. And things aren't feeling right. And so I get on the phone and I'm making a couple phone calls. And as I'm on my phone call, out walks the 2 Englewood cops by themselves. And they've got a bag of chips and a sandwich, like open and half eaten maybe, in their hands. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Well, I was on the phone when they walked out. So I wasn't going to confront them while I was on the phone. I was going to watch them. They go get in their vehicle and they sit right outside the emergency room for about 5 minutes and they leave. I thought, okay. So I go back to the Allied security guards and I said, what's the deal? I said, the cops are gone. I need to get back there and see that guy. He's like, I don't know what's going on. My guy is over there doing that on the 6th floor. I'm here by myself. I can't leave. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll wait. About 20 minutes goes by. I'm like, look, dude, you got to call somebody for me. Something's not right here. I said, call your supervisor. He's like, all right. And the guy was fairly new. We were having great conversation. We were talking about homelessness in between. He was very compassionate, understanding, wanted to learn a little bit more. I really liked this Allied guy. But I needed to know what the hell was going on. So he calls his supervisor. And then it takes that supervisor about another 5-10 minutes to come out. And he comes out and he's like, yeah, so-and-so, this woman needs to know about room 2. And what, he's like, and he looks at me and he's like, he's gone. I said, what? Yeah, the cops escorted him out the side door of the ambulance bay about a half hour ago. I said, what? He's like, yeah, they called the cops and the cops came and they walked him out to the sidewalk, out the side door. I stood there for a second. I was like, this guy's bullshitting me, right? What do I say next? And I said to him, I said, are you bullshitting me right now? He's like, no, we're really super busy. And the cops took him out the ambulance bay. Well, for those of you that know Swedish Hospital and the streets and the entrances and this and that, the ambulance bay is literally like the closest thing to the sidewalk to get off the property. Those cops took him out the ambulance bay in scrubs. Didn't even give the guy clothes because he went to the ER with no clothes because they pretty much took all his clothes off out in the Walmart parking lot. And they sent him out on the street at about 9 o'clock at night. Less than 3 hours. Let's be generous, between 3 and 4 hours of when the guy went unconscious on the pavement in the Walmart parking lot. They had him back out on the street in scrubs. I sat there for a minute and I said, okay, Regan, there's not a lot you can do. I walked out. I walked up and down the sidewalk. I wasn't going to go walking down the alleys. I wasn't going to go looking for this guy on foot. But he was nowhere to be seen in the most public area that I could look for him. I just stood there on the sidewalk for about 15 more minutes to think through what the hell just happened and what the hell I was going to do about it. I go back in the hospital. I said to the security guard, I said, yeah, I guess he's gone. I said, do me a favor. I said, I need to talk to the patient liaison for the entire hospital right now. He said, okay, I got to call so-and-so. I said, just call whoever you got to call. He's like, you know what? That's the charge nurse for the ER tonight. I'm going to ask him. So the charge nurse comes out, and I said, listen, you guys just let the cops escort a guy out onto the street through the ambulance bay. And he looks at me and he kind of shakes his head, and he said, was that room too? I said, well, I guess that's what I was told. He's like, yeah, well, he was medically cleared. I said, I don't care. There's a bigger problem here. And we need to talk about this. And he's like, I need to get the doctor. I said, yeah, you do. Because the doctor wouldn't come out here and talk to me earlier. He's like, I'll be right back. He's gone for close to 15 minutes. He comes back with the hospital administrator on call. Not the doctor. Hospital administrator's like, what's going on? I'm like, do you not know what just went on in your ER here with your doctor and your medical staff and the cops? You know what he tried to tell me? He tried to say that once they call the police, they don't have control of what goes on in their hospital. I looked at this guy. I said, dude, you're not talking to an idiot here, okay? That might work on the rest of the population, but when I go find that man tonight, I'm going to bring him right back here to your ER, and you're going to do the proper thing. Because now you're lying to me. They knew exactly what they did. And they wanted to blame the cops. There are all kinds of problems with this whole thing. This whole thing. So that's all I'm going to say about that case. Because the Englewood PD, once again, fucked it up from start to finish. And now they're trying to cover their asses. Here comes fire truck. Fire truck's coming back. This time they got lights. Oh, handlebar mustache. I actually think that's pretty groovy. That's like traditional firefighter stuff, right? Hurry up, get the hell in here. Hurry up, shut this freaking door before she gets out of her car. Holy shit, we cannot talk to this woman. Hurry. Kathleen Friedenberg just called us. She told us to get our asses back there and lock the door. Look at them. They did that shit in a hurry. Yeah, they went and drove around and said, all right, guys, what are we going to do? What are we going to do if we go back there and she's still there? Okay, dude, just pull up, lights. I'll jump out before you even stop. I'll make sure you can back in super fast, and we'll go in and we'll high-five each other. This is like a drill to see how fast you get that fire truck back in that station and shut that damn door. Look, Denver Fire Department, I gave you the total benefit of the doubt in this whole situation. I told Denver's 911 director from the get-go, this is not a DFD issue. This is an Englewood dispatcher issue. Because I will tell you, during that assault at Walmart, things flowed with precision. I mean, Denver Fire, ambulance, cops, everybody was doing their role perfectly in that Walmart parking lot. But meanwhile, little Joe at 12:30 when it was 110 degrees, yeah, fuck that guy. Yeah. So anyway, that's what you get when you call for medical help in England. That's what you get when you call 911. Now, if you come into this country as an immigrant, come to Denver. Come to Englewood. You get whatever you want. Yeah, I got a problem with that. I got a big, big problem with that. Health, wealth, and hope. How do I do this day in and day out? Well, I'm really not. That's the truth. And I said that like a year ago. I'm not going to do this day in and day out like I was. I'm going to go back to pointing out all the failings of government. But in the process, those things land in my lap and I have to respond to them. And so that's just what I do. And hopefully the money's there to be able to do it. Things are bad. Things are super tight. People don't have disposable income right now. Philanthropic donorship is down. So because of a few very good people out there that follow what I do, you always make sure that we can at least help that individual. And for those of you that have been following Phil's story, when I told you it was a shitty week, it's a shitty week. Phil is back out on the street. Again. That's the stuff that makes me say, why are you doing this? Nobody cares. Government will tell you they care for the almighty dollar. Denver spent $150 million in the last year. $150 million housing 1,400 people. Not housing, providing temporary shelter while working other government avenues to get Section 8 and other housing providers to cooperate with their $150 million plan that will have the other faction of government paying for that portion of housing. $150 million to temporarily shelter 1,400 people, not including Phil. Make that make sense. That's why I question why I do what I do. That's why I question it. All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for story time. The wind is blowing. It feels good. I think it might rain. All the folks that are on foot today all seem to have what they needed for shade, hydration. Didn't seem to be any issues. Of course, driving around for a couple hours in Englewood, I didn't see a single cop. Like for 2 hours. I'm down with that. You don't need to be out here causing problems if you're not going to be out here helping. Stay home. But I will tell you, it's kind of funny. I'm just driving, and I see a cop just hauling ass down a side street through a residential area. Bannock, to be exact. headed north. I was headed east, and I saw him just freaking whip down the street, and I thought, well, okay, must be a hell of an emergency going on. So I make my way up there. I look down the street. I see him just freaking whip around the corner at a major intersection at a red light. No turn signal. I'm like, oh shit. Shit's going down. So I make my way over there. By the time I get over there, he's sitting in the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A. Keep it up, Englewood. You're doing a great job. Bye, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll do story time again.